everyone, welcome back to Golden Papery, and we are going to get started with this week's plan with me. It is June week 3 of 2026. Wow, we are just zooming by the year. So, I have been away because my son was getting surgery and it's been kind of an up and down process, and thankfully he is recovering extremely well. And finally, this mom is getting somewhat of a good sleep. He had severe sleep apnea, and so, we're just going through it. But thank you, and we are getting back to our weekly series so that we can continuously plan. The good thing is that even though I do stop videoing, I still plan on a weekly basis. And so I have my work calendar and my personal, and then the budget cash binder that I tend to use. But for this week, we are at home. We are allowing our son to recover. My daughter's also on summer break and she's got some swim events. And then I have family coming in next week, so that should be fun. And then I am lightly working next week because, my son is still recovering. But this week, we are using our personal planner. This planner comes from the Aesthetic Dollar, and it is such a beautiful brown planner that I purchased about 2 to 3 weeks ago, I want to say. And then, actually, no, it's been longer. But I decided to use the cloth and paper monthly planning. And so I'm just going to look at my calendar and try to get to planning for the month of July. We're trying to get ahead just because June is already going to end. I think we have what? This week. And then next week, we're basically heading into July, which is just wild to me. But we are going to just add in a couple of appointments. My son does have physical therapy, and then he is taking some time off from PT and OT, but in July we are resuming back. And so I still have not set up the rest of the calendar for the therapist, and then he's also going to start speech therapy. So, yeah, this mom is just kind of all over the place, but I'm actually excited that this week I just get to concentrate on, personal planning and cash binder planning. I started to use AI. I know we just hear about AI all the time, but I started to use AI with some of my financial planning just because I'm really trying to set myself up for success when it comes to cash envelopes and cash binder systems. And one of those things that I learned was try to schedule some automatic transfers. And so that will be starting this week. So I decided to not only plan this week, but also put some cash in my cash binder and just like really get started on making it a habit and routine of going to the bank every Friday and scheduling those automatic transfers so that everything is just up and running. And if you are someone who also struggles with that, the automatic transfers is just a really great way to just like set it, forget it, and know that every time you get paid, you're automatically, setting aside the money that you need for your cash envelopes. But for this month, well, my husband and I impulsively bought some tickets for the World Cup, and so that'll be towards the end of the month. And that is, let me tell you something, it has been probably 2.5, 3 years that we have gone out on like a proper date. And so, it was kind of those impulsive purchases, but also I was able to just justify it and be like, you know what? Mom and dad deserve a 1 day out to just go have fun. And even actually, this will be out of state. So we were able to get my mother-in-law to graciously babysit, which she has no problem doing. She's actually really excited for that herself. But we decided to just plan a state night. I don't know. I gotta work on that. But we're going to have fun. I'm excited for it. We are the type of people to not really self-care a lot. We're just always working. Especially in my case, I only take days off whenever I have appointments for my kids. And so taking time to just really self-care and put back into the marriage is just super important for us, especially because we're just in a really great place right now. And That's amazing because it's been a couple of hard first couple of years. I mean, I think for every marriage, but in this case, like I just feel like we're both in a really good spot and he would tell you the same thing. So, but I am going to do my weekly planning with this which is also cloth and paper. It is a weekly admin planner layout, and I started to use this layout first on my work planner, and it is just amazing because it's just super quick. I write down what I need to do, what's coming up, and then it also has a section for tasks and then a focus section on like different habits that I have. I will admit though that I'm not great with keeping track of like all the habits that I tend to do, and that's not because I don't want to. It's just more of a, you know what, as I'm going, let's just, fill it out. But I also feel like I tend to track the same habits all the time, which is making sure I do my skincare routine and making sure that I take my vitamins and my medications. So those are the three important ones. Aside from that, I'm really trying to work on self-care route or self-care habits, so like making sure I do my Sudoku or like puzzles or coloring. And it's just been like lately, especially, I've started to game a lot more. And so when I was growing up and kind of living on my own for a bit, gaming was just a great way to de-stress. And lately I've been getting into a lot of cozy games, which has been helpful for me to kind of just de-stress and just take away a lot of the mental stress that I tend to have. But I will also say that now that I'm on some of these, medications, it's also been elevating my mood and just kind of balancing out everything that I used to feel. So it's been amazing. Honestly, this past month has been kind of like going back and trying to figure out a good routine and balance that will be good for not only my family but also, myself. So work is going good, life is going good, and I'm just so grateful that my son is recovering well. That was the biggest thing this week, and even though he does get a little bit of pain, we're managing it, so it's not too bad. But for this week, honestly, we're staying home. We're not doing much. I know that my family will be coming in Friday or Saturday, and then we are also going to be doing some follow-ups with our ENT. So I actually got to call back and schedule those. And the other thing is to figure out if my daughter's going to be attending the Meet of Champs this weekend. And so she has been participating in a local swim team that she was able to get on the team. And so just that itself was just awesome. And then she's been competing on these different events every Saturday. And that has been kind of enlightening because she has just excelled with what she's been able to do. I will admit that as work from home mom, it was kind of hard to take her to like the daily practices, but even just the times that we were able to go, she was just doing amazing. So we are waiting to hear back if she will attend the Meet of Champs, and if that is the case, then that will be on Saturday. Now, I also got some work to do because family is coming over next week. I would like to schedule an itinerary and figure out the menu options. And I know it's kind of like, whoa, like, why are you doing all of that? But we have a big family. My sister is coming over, there's three kids there. And then it looks like our other brother-in-law is coming over with our two nephews. And so we are gonna have just lots of kids in the house, which means kid-friendly meals and trying to figure out activities so that the kids are not bored. But yeah, so that is next week. And I will say that I'm looking forward to them coming. Even though I didn't take the week off, I am still lightly working just because of my son recovering. And so even though that is priority, I know we can find different ways that we could, just all enjoy ourselves in a country living lifestyle. So these task cards have been an absolute favorite of mine because I just reuse the page flags on my weekly planning, and then that, you know, minimizes how much time I spend on writing things down, which, come to think of it, I should probably try to figure out a way that I can do that with my habits. But like I said, I know there's people on Etsy that do like little stickers and you can custom do it and you just kind of, take it off and put it here and it works. But a lot of the things that I do they're not like atypical. So we can probably find some that have already been, pre-made and we can get those printed out. And then one of the other things that I'm going to do for my personal planner is add in some of the swim team schedules because we decided to also join another league that'll be all year round. So that'll also increase a lot of the planning, the practices, the schedules, and that's new. And then for the daily plan, I will say that I don't plan daily as I used to, but it tends to be like when I want to do it. I'm still trying to decide if the daily planning is something that I would like to incorporate, but I have my personal planner in my bag. I take it with me everywhere. I've now been separating my diaper bag and my personal bag into two different bags. And so that's been helpful to kind of keep all of the things that are personal to me and put them in a place where I feel comfortable taking out my stuff and not getting things dirty with like milk and snacks because that tends to happen a lot too. And yeah, so the daily planning, I don't know. I'm still working through it. Not that there's anything wrong with the daily planning, but I just feel like it makes the personal planner bulkier. And so if you have the larger rings, then it can definitely work out. But if you are taking this in your bag, especially if you don't have like, you have the smaller ring size, then I would suggest staying with a weekly plan. But I will say the daily planning is absolutely beautiful. Like I like seeing all the little notes that I have in there. I'm able to just quickly jot down any like things that come up throughout the day or things that happen during the day. But I think in my personal case, I like to just do this when I have busy days. And then I do the weekly planning as my everyday, go to routine to see what's going on. But I've mentioned to you all that I really do like to join this personal planner with my Google Calendar. And my Google Calendar has all of my appointments. It's really a place where I just add everything. And because it's shared with my husband, he's also able to add his own things in there so that we're both, having to keep track of like things that we have to do together. But, you know, I say whatever works for you, go with that. And if something doesn't work, this is the beautiful thing about like ring planners. You can just take out the template and just start with the new one or modify it to your liking. This is also the reason why I have moved away from like Erin Condren's life planner or even like plum paper planners because everything is coiled. And yes, you can customize like the plum papers and things like that, but it's just harder to modify. And then I feel guilty, especially this past time that I purchased a sterling ink planner. It's all together, so you can't really customize it. And then if you start, especially if it's dated, that's even worse, for me, that you just have like all these days and weeks just being unused. And I just feel like that's wasteful. So that doesn't work for me. That is fine. I will also say that if I think back to when I was going to college, I think this would have been an amazing tool and something as like a life planner or the plum paper planners or even like just coiled or binded would be a great way to track like all of your classes, your day to day, even just like work that was happening. So I will say that that is something that can be super useful for people in that type of world, or even like, different jobs. I imagine
like nursing or people who, take calls and things like that. So, yeah. Then the weekly planning is still something that I'm doing. I have started to utilize this personal planner as like my main catch all binder. And so, this is what we have going on for this week. And I'm not going to mess with any of the other planner inserts just because there's not much going on. But I will have some up and coming doctor visits that I'll just make sure to use those planning templates and, write down things that we have. But this is this week's planner. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay on, then we are going to move forward with the cash binder. So, going back to the cash binder, I started to utilize AI in a way that I could try to, put an emphasis on how I can just really physically see the amount of money that I have. I feel like, especially disciplined people who automate their transactions or they get their income on a, either weekly or bi weekly basis, you already know all the expenses are coming in and out. But the issue with me is that one week I have my income come, and then it's also biweekly. And then the following week I have my husband's income come. So I do a combination of budgeting by paycheck and then like the 50/30/20 planning. But I also started to combine it with the cash binder, and I actually stopped for about 2 weeks just because the automation from my current bank, which I bank with Chase, to the local, which is TDCU, is always the hardest part for me, right? Because if I get paid on a Friday, that means that money that was going to be available for groceries or home supplies is not going to be available for me until Monday. So that kind of puts a damper into my whole routine because then on the weekend I'm not able to use that money. I have to wait until Monday. And then second, if there's like important items, like especially my gas cash envelopes, then those are things that it's kind of like, okay, should I leave it in the bank? Should I use it? And so those are the struggles that I have of not having a local bank. Now, I have considered possibly putting my income or part of my income into TDCU or just switching it over completely, but I've had Chase for, I mean, longer than a decade. So it's one of those where like everything's already coming automated from that one account. I have a separate account for savings that I transfer out to Ally. And so I don't feel like that would be the best option for me, but I will say it's not working out, right? So either I have to start modifying my routine from a Friday bank, to a Monday bank or a grocery shop on Mondays instead or Tuesdays instead of the weekend, then that just might have to be something that I do. Or another option that I have there is to try to um, be a month ahead on all of the cash envelopes, and then I don't have to worry about the delay of when the money hits the bank for the following week. So and I'm actually thinking about doing that route just because I know how difficult it is to, wait and then try to go to the bank and then get the cash. And it's just crazy. Like Mondays are always the busiest for me at work. And so it's not something that I'm wanting to do, but it's something that I know I have to do, especially because I'm just seeing some not bad trends, but just like bad habits for myself and also my husband. Like we see the money in the bank and it's like, okay, we can go ahead and use this money. And so I feel like taking that out will give us that responsibility back to visually see how much we have for gas or groceries. And then another tool that I've been using for my finances because I haven't really been utilizing my monthly spreadsheet that I use. But I ended up connecting my some of my finances with this new app called Lunch Money, and I've used it in the past because it's kind of like YNAB. But if you've never utilized a finance or budgeting tool, YNAB is just so complicated. And as much as I loved the the format of it, it was just so hard to learn it. And so Lunch Money made it so much easier to just track what I need and also, you know, visually see like where are the areas that we are overspending and also what has been the targeted amount for like a category like groceries or gas. So this was a good way for me to just kind of combine all the different things. But for the cash binder for this week, I'm going to budget two, three, four, five, six, 750. So we're doing $750 for the cash binder. And I am just going to set them aside for each cash envelope. So for groceries, and they're still, this binder is already modified to what I need. So I got some new cash envelopes from the Aesthetic Dollar. And then I also got the stickers that she had on her website to make my own like custom cash envelopes because I did get some from Christina Loves Planning. It came with this binder, but I just felt like there were a lot of categories that I just wasn't using. So that's why I decided to go this route. And I absolutely love the way it looks. So groceries is going to get 200, and I tend to do about 150 to 200 every week of groceries cash so that I can budget for the week. And that has been working pretty well. For eating out, I'm going to do for now 100 because we have been eating out more lately with my daughter's swim meets. And I know we still have a championship meet coming up possibly on Saturday, so we'll see about that. And then I'm going to skip, well, I'll put 50 in home, like for home supplies, but a lot of the home stuff I tend to purchase on Amazon, so I may rethink this cash envelope. Then medications will get 50. I do have some medications that I pick up for my son, for myself, and then also like refills at home for like allergy meds. And then self-care is getting the 200, which we tend to do a personal envelope every week, and that tends to be about 75 to 100 every week for my husband and I. So 75 for me, 75 for him. That may go up, but we'll see. And then kids is going to get 50. I like to do like this is not for things that they need. It's more like, things that they want if we're at the store or maybe like a quick McDonald's run or something like that. And then I'm going to add this rest of the 100 on the home because I think I may use some of this for gas as well. So we'll think about it. But this is the cash binder for this week. And then Friday I get paid. So we'll transfer that money on Friday and then go ahead and pick up the new cash for next Monday. But overall, let's see what this how this works and if this 1 month ahead is a better option for me in my situation. And then after this video, I'm going to actually condense my wallet to this cash binder because I'll just be carrying this cash binder in my bag as well. And I'm going to move my ID and my different cards into this cash binder. And we're getting ready for July, so we're going to go ahead and do some July savings for any of the leftover cash envelopes that we have. And this will also be on a weekly basis or, as we get change from like whatever transactions we have. So yeah, this is what we got going on for this week. I appreciate all of your patience and your wonderful feedback to my own systems. And if you feel like something works for you, feel free to add it in the comment because that is helpful for me too. And I've started to implement some of the things that, people have sent over. So, yep, that is what we got. And we will see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.